Samurai Nippon. The Chain of Betrayal.
A single betrayal changed Japan. A bloody chain reaction of the Warring States era. Click, click, click. The sound of shogi pieces on the board gradually transforms into the clashing of sword guards.
But first, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. This helps the algorithm show you more videos perfectly suited to your interests.
In the Sengoku period, 1467 to 1615, one betrayal inevitably led to the next, eventually becoming a massive domino effect that swept across the Japanese archipelago. Today, we'll thoroughly dissect the chain reaction of betrayal that changed history. Who exactly made the first move? The 10th year of Tensho, 1582, Oda Nobunaga's domain. Stretched from the Chugoku region in the west to the Kanto region in the east, bringing him within one step of unifying Japan, Nobunaga's domain totaled about 5 million koku, equivalent to approximately 5 trillion yen in modern value. Like managing a massive corporation with annual revenues of $50 billion single-handedly. However, countless cracks had already formed in this massive power structure. Nobunaga's harsh personality and revolutionary policies instilled fear and discontent among many of his retainers. The burning of Enryakuji Temple on Mount Hiei resulted in thousands of casualties, including monks, women, and children. Nobunaga reportedly declared, "Neither Buddha nor gods exist." The 10-year war against Ishiyama, Honganji Temple turned the entire Kinki region into a battlefield, with Iko-Iki Buddhist warrior monks nationwide fighting against Oda forces. For Nobunaga, religious groups were the greatest obstacle to unification. According to historical records like Shinchokoki, many of Nobunaga's retainers harbored fears of someday being purged themselves. Witnessing the successive banishment of veteran retainers like Sakuma, Nobumori, and Hayashi Hidesada, terror spread throughout the household. This psychological state became the fertile ground for the chain of betrayals that would follow. Nobunaga ruled through fear, but fear is not loyalty. Eventually, it will always turn its fangs on the master. Meanwhile, Mori Teramoto controlled 1.2 million koku in the Chugoku region and dominated maritime traffic in the Seto Inland Sea. The Mori Navy's power even surpassed Oda's naval forces. Uesugi Kagekatsu ruled 550,000 koku in Echigo and aimed to expand into Shinano and Kai provinces after the fall of the Takeda clan. The prowess of Uesugi forces was proven even at the Battle of Nagakute. In Shikoku, Chosokabe Motochika was on the verge of unifying the island, while in Kyushu, Shimazu, Yoshihisa led Satsuma's elite troops northward. The Shimazu's feigned retreat, Surinobushi tactics terrorized Kyushu warriors. In other words, while it appeared to be Oda's realm on the surface, powerful daimyo across the land were watching for opportunities, plotting to reform the anti-Oda alliance. Akechi Mitsuhide, the man who would etch his name in history as the mastermind of the Hanoji incident, was actually one of the most cultured individuals in the Oda household. He was well versed in tea ceremony, waka, poetry, and Renga-linked verse, and had deep connections with the imperial court. From his time serving Ashikaga Yoshiaki, he was the epitome of a well-rounded Sengoku warrior, excelling in both literary and military arts. However, this very intelligence and refinement became the source of Mitsuhide's tragedy. He fundamentally opposed Nobunaga's overly revolutionary policies from the depths of his heart. The key to solving this mystery lies in Nobunaga's repeated humiliations. In May of Tensho 10, Mitsuhide received severe reprimands from Nobunaga at Azuchi Castle. The delays in preparations for the Mori campaign are due to your negligence. Nobunaga's anger was extraordinary, calling Mitsuhide a useless old fool in front of other retainers. For a samurai, honor is more precious than life itself. Mitsuhide's humiliation was beyond imagination. Retired to Sawayama Castle in Omi Province, when Mitsuhide heard these words, his face became so pale that witnesses pitied him, and his hands were reportedly trembling. However, Mitsuhide's resentment didn't end there. During the Tamba campaign, Mitsuhide had offered his own mother as a hostage. To secure Hatano Hideharu's surrender, when Hatano broke his promise and continued resistance, Mitsuhide's mother was cruelly killed. The psychological wound of losing his mother due to his own political misjudgment never healed throughout his life. When Mitsuhide reported this to Nobunaga, Nobunaga coldly dismissed it. That's the nature of war. You can't conquer the realm while worrying about such things. For Mitsuhide, this single statement became the final trigger. The decisive factor was the issue of Mitsuhide's land redistribution. Nobunaga declared that he would give Mitsuhide's Sakamoto Castle and Tamba domain to Hashiba Hideyoshi without any consultation. Having his 340,000 koku domain, built through blood and sweat, taken away by a single command, in modern terms, it would be like a company president telling a long-term employee, "Your department is dissolved tomorrow, no severance pay." In Mitsuhide's heart, loyalty to Nobunaga had completely vanished, replaced by hatred. On the fateful night of June 1st, Mitsuhide quietly told his retainers at Kameyama Castle, "Toki wa ima ame. Ga shitashiru satsuki kana?" Now is the time when rain knows all under heaven in May. This verse appeared to be Renga poetry, but was actually a coded message, meaning the time has come for Mitsuhide, descendant of the Toki clan, to rule the realm. Then came the legendary words, "The enemy is at Honnoji." These words became the first step in the greatest betrayal, domino of the Sengoku period. When 13,000 Akechi troops began their march toward Kyoto, the wheels of history began to turn dramatically. News of the Honnoji incident first reached Hashiba Hideyoshi, who was besieging Takamatsu Castle in Bichu Province. The messenger burst into Hideyoshi's camp tent before dawn on June 3rd, breathless with urgent news. Hideyoshi's reaction was astonishing. Rather than grieving, he acted with such composure, as if he had anticipated this development. He immediately began peace negotiations with the Mori forces and ordered a full army withdrawal, the Great Return from Chugoku Ogaishi, covering 200 kilometers in just 10 days. This superhuman marching speed remains a military miracle even by modern standards, averaging 20 kilometers per day for fully equipped troops. However, Hideyoshi's swift action triggered an unexpected chain reaction. The Allied commanders whom Mitsuhide had counted on began changing their attitudes one by one. First, Hosokawa Fujitaka Yusai, who had sided with Akechi, declared neutrality. Despite being the father-in-law of Mitsuhide's daughter Gracia, Fujitaka declared, he cannot participate in regicide and shaved his head, announcing his retirement. His son Hosokawa Tadaoki also remained inactive, confining Gracia to the mountains of Tango. The betrayal by the family members Mitsuhide relied on most was an incalculable psychological blow. Tsutsui Junkei also chose the famous wait-and-see approach, known as sitting on Horigatoge Pass. As a local lord of Yamato Province, Junkei wanted to see who would ultimately win between Mitsuhide and Hideyoshi. Even more fatally, powerful commanders in Setsu like Nakagawa, Kiyohide and Takayama Ukon switched sides to Hideyoshi one after another. The encirclement of Mitsuhide was rapidly forming. On June 13th, Tensho 10, the Battle of Yamazaki, Mitsuhide's 16,000 troops faced Hideyoshi's 40,000. The numerical disadvantage was obvious, but more serious was the low morale of Mitsuhide's army. Many in the army bearing the stigma of regicide felt in their hearts that this battle cannot be won. The atmosphere of defeat permeated before the battle even began. The battle began around 2 p.m. and was decided in just 2 hours. Mitsuhide died ignominiously during his retreat, stabbed by a bamboo spear wielded by peasant manhunters at Ogurisu. He was 55 years old. However, no one could have predicted that this victory would create new enemies for Hideyoshi. The victory at Yamazaki became the spark for internal power struggles within the Oda family. The Kyosu Conference, held from June 27th to July 16th, Tensho 10, for 20 days to decide Nobunaga's successor. Participants were the 4 senior retainers, Hashiba Hideyoshi, Shibata, Katsui Niwanagahide, and Ikeda Tsuneyoki. Katsui supported Nobunaga's third son Nobutaka, while Hideyoshi backed the legitimate grandson Sanposhi, later Oda Hidenobu. Hideyoshi's strategy of putting forward a mere 3-year-old child was unconventional for the time, but proved brilliantly successful. While Hideyoshi appeared to win on the surface, this decision planted new seeds of betrayal. First, Oda Nobuo harbored deep mistrust toward Hideyoshi. The humiliation of being completely excluded from succession, despite being the second son, was immeasurable. Even more serious was Tokugawa Ieyasu's position. While Ieyasu showed outward obedience to Hideyoshi, he was thinking, "Someday I will definitely crush this monkey." During Hideyoshi's unification process, further chains of betrayal continued. At the Battle of Shizugatak in Tensho 11, Maeda Toshie's withdrawal from the battle lines sealed Shibata Katsui's fate. Toshie switched sides to Hideyoshi at the crucial moment. During the Kyushu campaign, Shimazu Yoshihisa resisted to the very end, but surrendered at the last moment when faced with 200,000 troops. However, this humiliation became a major factor in joining the Western Army at Sekigahara. During the Odawara campaign, the seppuku of the Hojo father and son, Ujimasa and Ujinao, eliminated the last independent power of the Sengoku period. However, Tokugawa Ieyasu's entry into Kanto at this time further increased his power, which was miscalculated by Hideyoshi. On August 18, Keicho 3, 1598, Toyotomi Hideyoshi departed this world at age 62, truly a tumultuous life. From this moment, the final and greatest betrayal domino began. The conflict between Ishida Mitsunari and Tokugawa Ieyasu had reached an irreparable level. Mitsunari's bureaucratic nature and Ieyasu's military approach were fundamentally incompatible. Furthermore, military commanders like Kato Kiyomasa and Fukushima Masanori harbored intense resentment toward Mitsunari's high-handed attitude. Whispers of "that paper warrior" reportedly echoed through Osaka Castle. The Wasugi Kagekatsu relocation issue also became a flashpoint. Despite receiving a large 1.2 million koku domain, Kagekatsu was dissatisfied with his role as guardian of Kanto. Most fatally, there was Kobayakawa Hideaki's indecisive personality. On the morning of Sekigahara, shrouded in fog, Hideaki hesitated until the very last moment about whether to join the Eastern or Western Army.
At 8 a.m., battle commenced.
The moment had come for Western Army's Ishida Mitsunari and Eastern Army's Tokugawa Ieyasu to settle their rivalry. However, the true deciding factor in this battle was not martial valor on the battlefield, but political maneuvering. After noon, frustrated Ieyasu ordered Matsudaira Tadayasu to fire cannons at Hideaki's position. Pushed by this urging bombardment, Hideaki finally made his decision. When 8,000 Kobayakawa troops struck the Western Army's rear, the Western forces completely collapsed. In just 6 hours, the Toyotomi realm completely ended and the Tokugawa era began. From the Battle of Sekigahara until the Meiji Restoration 260 years later, Tokugawa peace continued. However, the foundation of this long-term regime was, ironically, a system designed to prevent betrayal, learned from the chain of betrayals in the Sengoku period. Through the Sankenkotai alternate attendance system, depleting daimyo finances, hostage systems, ensuring loyalty, and spy networks nipping rebellion in the bud, the Tokugawa shogunate thoroughly analyzed Sengoku failures and constructed a perfect surveillance society. Meanwhile, the chain of betrayals influenced later history in unexpected ways. Akechi Mitsuhide's descendants served the Hosokawa family and survived as chief retainers of 540,000 koku Kumamoto domain until the Meiji Restoration. Former Kobayakawa retainers remaining in Bizen Okayama after Hideaki's confiscation later became part of the anti-shogunate movement. This could be called historical irony. Also, the Shimazu family of Satsuma and Mori family of Choshu, who joined the Western Army at Sekigahara, became the core forces that toppled the shogunate through the Satsuma-Choshu alliance after 250 years. Truly, karma comes full circle. In other words, Sengoku betrayals didn't merely end one era, but determined the flow of subsequent Japanese history. The ripples of a single betrayal spread across hundreds of years. That trust relationships and organizational unity are emphasized in modern business may be because Sengoku lessons still apply today. The price of betrayal remains unchanged across eras. Converting to annual income, Mitsuhide's 340,000 koku Tamba domain equals about $50 billion in current value. Perhaps modern people can understand Mitsuhide's mindset in risking losing this in an instant through betrayal. One betrayal calls forth the next, eventually determining the fate of the realm. The chain of betrayals in the Sengoku period tells the story of human psychological darkness and its massive impact on history. If Mitsuhide hadn't attacked Honnoji, if Hideaki had remained with the Western Army to the end, Japanese history might have been completely different. But history has no what-ifs. All we can do is apply the lessons of this chain to the modern era. Trust takes time to build but can be lost in an instant. We must not forget this truth that Sengoku warriors learned through blood.
So, how was today's chain of betrayals? the Sengoku period still holds countless shocking historical facts and human dramas of warriors not found in textbooks. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. And if you want to learn more about the depths of Japanese history, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. In the comments, please tell us the most shocking Sengoku betrayal that surprised you. If you know any surprising historical facts or unknown episodes, please share them with us. See you next time. This was Samurai Nippon.